Hi, my Wolfpack Charlie Black 20 back again, and today what we are going to be doing is a movie review of the Disney classic Old Yeller. If you heard that piece of thunder, take a look outside. Yeah, it's storming out there. I'm on the porch deck, nice and cozy inside, but we are going to be talking about Old Yeller the movie first of all. And then at the end of the video, we will cover the differences between the movie and the book, which are not many. The main storyline is exactly the same and very well done. So, we're going to get right into the movie. Our protagonists, the main family that we are following, are the Coates. We are in 1860s Texas after the American Civil War. And we're on a piece of land in Texas that has plenty of game, has a farm, has a cabin, and it has the family of the father, the mother, Travis Coates, the young son, the oldest son, and Arliss, the young son. Travis is about 13, 14, and Arliss is between 6 and 10, depending on the book or the movie. I tend to think he's around 8 to 10. So, what we have in the beginning of the movie is the Old Yeller theme song, which is Here Yeller, Come Back Yeller. And it's a good song, I like it. Got that classic Disney feel to it. We follow Old Yeller as he's like trying to catch a rabbit. He comes to the Coates cabin where he takes a drink of water and then runs away when he sees them. Travis and his brother are talking about how their pa is leaving to go on a cattle drive with almost all the adult men in the area so they can get cash money, which they don't have. They have everything else they feel they need to live a life on the frontier, except for cash money, which they really lack and they really, really need to run the farm. So their pa promises to bring presents back and tells them he's not going to be gone too long. 2 to 3 months, he says, I believe. And he leaves and tells Travis that he's in charge. He is the man of the house and he has to keep the family safe. They have hogs that they need marked. They have the corn that needs to be brought in. That's the most important. They have to protect the household, hunting to be done, and he's telling Travis, you're in charge. And Travis is desperate for a horse of his own, because the only thing they have their pa's horse and they've got a mule called Jumper. And because he doesn't have a horse, he has to use the mule, and he doesn't like that. So he tells his pa, I want a horse of my own. His pa's like, well, what you could really use is a good dog, and Travis is like, no, I want a horse. That's what I'd be wanting most. And his father says, well, if you can do a man's job, I'll bring you a man's horse. So, the movie, Travis returns home, and we see him plowing the cornfield with Jumper, and all of a sudden, this big yellow dog, that looks like a lab, pops out of the underbrush, chasing a rabbit, and then the rabbit runs through the cornfield under Jumper. The dog follows, and Jumper just goes nuts and runs away, pulling the plow behind him, wrecking the cornfield, and then the dog starts chasing Jumper, and the plow takes down the entire rail fence near the yard. And Travis is like, what a mess. And his mom comes out and sees what's going on, and she's appalled. And the dog shows back up for a second, and Travis throws rocks at it. And so he wakes up the next morning, has a conversation with his mom, and he comes out to get what is called the middlin meat. So they had some meat hanging from the rafters above them, but it's gone. And when Travis looks on the ground, he sees that yeller dog again, that yellow dog, laying there. Obviously, he stole the meat. And then Arliss, his brother, comes out, and says, "A dog!" Travis wants to beat the dog and just send him away. Arliss says, "No, he's my dog. No one's going to hurt him." And when the ma comes out, she takes Arliss's side and says, "Listen, Travis, you're too old to play with him. He gets lonely. You had a dog earlier, Old Blue. So why don't you go and hunt us up a deer for lunch and dinner? You can do that, can't you? And I want you to think on Arliss and that dog." So we see Travis go hunting, and he manages to get himself a buck. And he brings it back home to find Arliss and the dog in their section of water that is for drinking, fresh drinking water. And he throws rocks at the dog. Arliss starts throwing rocks at Travis, and Travis can't throw rocks back at his younger brother, so he runs to the house to get to the safety of his ma. And she berates them both, saying that Arliss has to listen to his brother, and Travis shouldn't start rock fights. And the dog gets off scot-free, basically. So Travis decides to lay a trap for this dog. He hangs the venison meat lower than he should to tempt the dog for the night. And when he gets up in the morning, he's ready to shoot the dog if he's touched the meat. He finds him on the woodpile, level with the meat, but the meat has not been touched. So, Arliss and the dog catch a catfish for Arliss and for them to eat. And Arliss starts telling this big story and that he caught it himself, and asking, telling his ma big lies. And Travis isn't having it. He's like, "Ma, he's just telling big lies. It was the dog that got it." And she's like, "Hey, if Arliss wants to tell fancy stories, let him. There's no harm in that." But the next scene is scary because Arliss is using these pieces of cornbread to lure in a small black bear cub to him, while Travis and his ma are sawing wood for the new fence. And then Arliss grabs onto the cub, and he starts yowling for his mother. Travis and his ma hear it. They come over and they're like, "Arliss, let it loose." And then all of a sudden they hear this roar in the woods coming straight for Arliss. Travis runs down there holding the axe, telling him to let go. It's the mother bear bearing down on Arliss, pardon the pun. And he's just frozen in fear, hanging onto that cub. And then out of the brush between Travis and the bear comes Old Yeller. And he rushes the bear, and he's barking at it, rushing it, charging it, roaring, basically, holding it back until the mother grabs onto Arliss and brings him back to the safety of the house. And then Travis follows, and the bear runs away, and they reach the house together in safety. And for the first time, Travis is grateful to this dog for saving his brother. And so now Travis has let go of his anger and welcomed this dog, Old Yeller. Then a few days later, they get some visitors. A man named Bud Searcy and his daughter or granddaughter Elizabeth. The reason he's not on the cattle drive is because all the men secretly don't want him to come because he is lazy as hell. As soon as he gets to the property, he's been told he's staying behind to keep an eye on the women folk and the other families. In reality, they just didn't want him to come because he would have been completely lazy and useless on the cattle drive. And we see that throughout his visits. Meanwhile, Elizabeth, she had also brought her dog, a female, with them. And she and Travis are going through the cornfield to gather corn for food, for dinner. And they see that a lot of it has been chewed on by raccoons. So Travis is like, I'm going to have to drive them out tonight. Me and Old Yeller, I'll have to scare them out tonight and keep an eye on it. And Elizabeth tells him, the stories my pa was just telling about some varmints stealing from everybody, eggs, meat, it was your dog. It was Yeller. I saw him doing it, but I'm not going to tell anybody. He's like, why aren't you going to tell? And she says, because my dog, Miss Prissy, is going to have pups, and he's their father, and I don't want him to be shot. So Travis gives her an arrowhead he found. And she's like, I will never, never tell. And she's like 12, 13. So after dinner is done, Bud Cersei is talking about how people need to start marking their hogs so that you know whose hog is who. They let them out run together, and then when the season is ended for mating between the hogs, they will mark them with brands using knives on the ears or the coats and everything. And Travis has to do that so that they can gather up their hogs for food later on. And Bud Cersei tells him the easiest way to do it is have your dog herd the hogs into a dense area where you can go up a tree or on a cliffside, and you can lower a rope down, grab the hog that you need, pull it up, mark them, put them back down. And you're safe as can be up there. The next morning, that night, Travis and Old Yeller are sleeping near the cornfield, partly so Travis can keep an eye on Old Yeller, make sure he doesn't go stealing elsewhere, but at the same time, they're keeping an eye on the cornfield, and they chase off a bunch of raccoons that night. But the next morning, even though he's exhausted, his ma tells him that one of their cows, Rosie, hadn't come up yet, one of their milk cows, and they need the milk, and they need old Rosie to come up, especially because they think that she just gave birth to her new calf. So Travis goes down to find her with Old Yeller. They find her, but Rose is not a very gentle cow. She chases Travis, she chases Old Yeller, and at one point she's chasing down Travis to gore him, and Yeller somehow, we don't see it exactly, gets a hold of Rose and pins her down to the ground with a single leap. So he does that to her twice and forces Rose to give up the fight. Travis grabs the calf, carries it, and has Yeller drive Rose back up to milk, where he has Old Yeller stand guard on her while he milks her, because otherwise she's going to kick him. And his ma is amazed. She can't believe that he managed to get this done with Old Yeller. But the next scene, we have a man arrive at the house, Bern Sanderson. And he says, I came up here because Bud Cersei said that you had a dog up here, and he sounds a lot like the dog I had that ran off. He's the best cattle dog and hog dog you've ever seen, but he'll also steal you blind while your back's turned. And he's a big Yeller dog. And the ma's like, Travis, go and get Old Yeller. And he goes to Arliss, tells him, we need you to bring Old Yeller up to the house now. And we see that Yeller knows the man, because he calls him like, Yeller, come here, boy. And he puts a rope around him, and he's like, thank you, ma'am. I'm much obliged. And he's leaving on his horse. When Arliss realizes what's going on, he immediately grabs up a bunch of rocks and throws them at Sanderson and his horse, hitting it. And it starts bucking everywhere and throws the man off his horse. And when his ma's like, how dare you do that, Arliss? You should be ashamed of yourself. And he's like, no, I'll throw another rock and bust him if he tries to take my dog. And Sanderson just starts laughing. He's like, oh, I can't believe this. And he tells Arliss to come to him, and his mom makes him go. And he asks Arliss what he has in his pocket, because he sees his pocket moving. And Arliss pulls out a horned toad, because Arliss is always grabbing animals and putting them in his pocket, like snakes, frogs, whatever. And Bud Sanderson says, you really want that thieving, mangy Yeller dog? And Arliss is like, absolutely, I want him. Yes, sir. And Sanderson's like, well, it would be a hard thing for me to give him up, but I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. You give me that horned toad, and your ma has to cook me a real home-cooked meal, because I haven't been able to cast a thin shadow since I've been eating my own cooking. You do that, the dog is yours. And Travis and the ma are just smiling ear to ear, and Arliss is like, will ya feed him, mama? And she's like, of course I will. And they have a great meal. And afterwards, Sanderson lets the horned toad go without Arliss seeing, but he tells Travis, listen, I know your pa left you in charge, and I need to warn you. I didn't want to say this in front of your mom, But there's been cases of hydrophobia in the area, otherwise known as rabies today. But they call it hydrophobia, meaning fear of water, because animals that get rabies can't drink it. So he tells them you need to watch out for it with animals like hogs and cows and things like that. When they're very far along, they'll be slobbering and drooling and staggering everywhere. They'll go blind. But the ones that aren't that far along, if they make fight at you, if they attack you, shoot fast and don't hesitate. I've killed a fox and a skunk and a weasel that had it. Other animals can get it too, like hogs and wolves. So watch out for those. If they make fight at you when they should be running, shoot fast. Don't hesitate. And with that piece of warning, he leaves. So Travis now has to go out and mark their hogs. And he brings Yeller with him. And they do start marking them. They find a nice tree. Yeller brings them around the tree and holds them there. And Travis starts marking them from up in the tree using the rope. Unfortunately, at one point, he grabs the wrong hog and it starts pulling him around. And it forces him out of the tree right in the middle of these hogs. And he tries to get away, but one of them grabs onto his leg and starts tearing at him. And he yells for old Yeller. Yeller comes in there and starts fighting, and he makes a run for it. And then the hogs start, after he gets a good distance, he stops, bandages up his leg with some cloth, and comes back after the hogs have moved on. And he finds old Yeller there in really bad shape, cut up, really cut up. In fact, part of his belly is cut, which is very, very dangerous because his insides could come out. And Travis can't carry him, he's too injured, and he can't force him to come along with him because he's so badly hurt. So he takes old Yeller, puts him in this little cave, and blocks it up with a big rock and wood so that the animals can't get to him while Yeller can't follow him in the moment while he goes home and gets his ma. And he goes back. His ma bandages him up and he refuses to stay there until they go and get Yeller. So she grabs Jumper and Arliss. They and they get to where Yeller is. The ma sends Arliss away, saying, I saw a pretty little critter down the road, some kind of a lizard. Can you go and get it for me? Arliss runs off. She doesn't want him to see, not get in the way. And when she sees the wound on Yeller, she's very appalled, but she has brought her needle and kit and says, go get me a hair from Jumper, from his tail, and we'll sew him up as best we can. They do this, and they also build a sled that they can pull behind Jumper that they put Yeller on. And they tell Arliss when he gets back with his lizard, what we want you to do is lay next to Yeller like you're both sick Indians. It's a game. You're both sick Indians, and you both have to lie very still together. Can you do that? Can you hold on to him and hold him very still? And doing that, they head back home, where both Yeller and Travis are in bed for quite a while. And the ma's left taking care of almost all the household chores. The corn, the wood, taking care of Arliss, the food, the clothes, everything. And Travis and Yeller are just stuck. And she has to clean their bandages and help them with the pain. And then, of course, Bud Cersei arrives again with Lisbeth. And she's brought a puppy with her that looks just like Yeller. And Elizabeth tries to give the puppy to Travis, saying, he's yours if you want him. And he says, no, I've got my dog. You can give him to Arliss. And you can see that she's very upset, and she starts crying, gives the puppy to Arliss, and she's very upset. And Bud Cersei is talking with his ma as they come inside to clean his bandages, which he doesn't help at all. He's just like holding the blanket. And then he starts saying, we got to be careful that he doesn't get hydrophobia. We got to keep an eye on him because all these animals can get it, including hogs. And the ma is surprised at this, and she's like, even hogs? She's like, yeah. So you got to keep an eye on this kid. And the ma's like, just get out, Bud. Just get out, Mr. Cersei. And she berates him for being lazy, saying that there's plenty of stuff to do around here that needs to be done by menfolk. We need the wood split, we need the corn, and we need to get everything ready for winter. And he's like, Miss Coach, don't you worry a bit about that corn. Lisbeth, I'm going to leave her here with you so she can work and help you out. She might be small and young, but she works hard just like her pa. And he gets on his horse and heads out. And she goes back to Travis, and she's very worried about the hydrophobia. But Travis tells her, no, Ma, I know I don't have it. Because those hogs were mean, yes, but they weren't mad. And so, for the next few days, Lisbeth is helping with taking care of Arliss, getting the corn, the wood. And then Travis comes back outside one day, and he's limping. Him and Yeller aren't in full health yet, but they're up and about. And the mom mentions that Rose, their cow, hasn't allowed her calf to get milk, and that she's been roaming around just hiding from her own shadow. And then they hear and see Rose come out, staggering, slobbering all over, and they're thinking at first maybe it's something like pea vine, which is something that they eat and it can cause them problems. But Travis sees, no, it's definitely hydrophobia. And he says, I'll go get my gun. So, as they're loading up the corn crib, Travis comes out with his gun, aims it, and then bang! That night, Ma and Elizabeth and Old Yeller are together gathering wood to burn the carcass, because they can't bury it, and they can't just leave it where it is, otherwise rabies is going to spread everywhere from animals eating the diseased carcass. Arliss is getting fed some cornbread and milk by Travis, along with the puppy that's eating out of his bowl. And Travis, they're just having a conversation about heaven and when their pa's getting back, when all of a sudden they hear their ma yelling for Travis to bring his gun. He tells Arliss, stay right here. He grabs his gun and runs out as we hear his ma yelling, there's a wolf, there's a wolf. We see Jumper running past, we see the fire in the distance, and Travis gets out there and he sees Old Yeller fighting with this wolf. And he waits for the right moment, he waits, and then he sees a shot, bang! We wait, we see both animals on the ground, and then Old Yeller gets up from underneath the body of the wolf. He is hurt, but he's okay. And then his ma says, the wolf just came leaping out at us around the fire. And she realizes, wait, why would a wolf attack at a fire? And she says, no wolf would have done this unless they were mad. He must have had hydrophobia. And Travis, she says, if you can't do it, I will do it for you. We can't risk our family with Old Yeller anymore. And he's like, no, Mama, we don't know for sure. We'll put him in the corn crib and we'll wait. We'll lock him up and see what happens. And she agrees. Apparently a few weeks to a month has passed, and Old Yeller seems to be his normal self. He's eating well. He's still loving them. But she says, we have to wait a little longer. We don't know how long it will take. It could take quite a while for us to see any symptoms. So they lock him back up. Travis comes out that night to give Old Yeller his food. And Old Yeller is just laying there growling and growling and growling, slobbering all over. And Travis can't believe it. He's like, no, I don't want to believe this. I don't want to believe this. So he quietly shuts the corn crib, goes back in the house, and he tells his ma that Old Yeller is fine. There's nothing going on. But then Arliss says, I don't want him locked up in that corn crib any longer. I want him to come out. And Travis grabs him and says, you stay away from that dog. You understand? And shakes him. And then Travis heads back to his room in his cat. And his ma follows him, and she realizes something's gone wrong. At the same time, Arliss, being who he is, runs out in his pajamas and tells Old Yeller, I'm going to get you out of here, boy. And he starts trying to unlock both locks, the bottom and the top of the corn crib. But Travis and his ma realize that he's out there doing this. They run out, and just before they can, the dog can rush the door and get out, they get to Arliss and lock it up. It's a really close thing. And that's where they see him growling and snarling and slobbering all over the place. And Travis is crying. And Elizabeth comes and takes Arliss away while his mom brings his gun. And he says, no, Mama. And she says, there's no hope for him now, honey. He's suffering. We know what to do. And he's like, I'll do it, Ma. He was my dog. And it takes a long time. He's got his finger on the trigger, and he's crying and crying, and then he just takes a breath, aims, boom. Silence. We see Travis walking away from the smoke while Elizabeth and his mom are crying. The next scene is their pa coming back on his horse with a new horse, and he's yelling, hello, the house, and Arliss comes out, running with the pup, and hugs his dad. He hugs his wife as she comes out, and he shows all the gifts he's brought, the money, a dress that he got for his wife, the Indian bonnet and toy tomahawk he got for his Arliss, who goes running away with the pup. And then he asks, where's Travis? I brought his horse. And the ma says, he's up on the hill burying Old Yeller with Lisbeth. And he's like, who's Old Yeller? Come inside, I'll tell you. And Lisbeth is telling Travis, listen, you still have his pup. He's part Old Yeller. And he's like, he may be part him, but he's not Old Yeller. So Lisbeth walks away as his pa comes up the hill. And he says, your ma told me about the dog. It was a very manly thing you did. You acted like a real adult. Can't ask any more of you than that, especially how hard it would have been. Now the best thing to do is try and forget it. And his son's like, how do you forget something like this, Pa? And he's like, well, I actually don't quite mean it like that. I'm saying that you gotta quit dwelling on the bad and remember the good. Because if you only dwell on the bad, it makes it all bad. You gotta remember all the good as well and keep moving forward and take it from there. Be a man about it like that. And Travis says, well, I'll do my best, Pa. They head back down to the house where they hear all this yelping, and they see the ma yelling, how dare you, little rascal, and the pup has taken a piece of meat from the kitchen, and he's barking at the ma, and then Arliss comes out and he's swinging the toy tomahawk at his ma, trying to tell her, you don't hit my dog, you don't hit my dog. Then the pa grabs him up and throws him in the air, saying, Chief, you can't do that to your ma. And then Travis grabs the pup by the scruff of the neck, holds him up, and puts him in his arms, and he says, well, he's pretty young, but he'll earn his keep soon. And then we see the pup grow up a little bit, and we hear, young Yeller, hear Yeller. And beautiful music at the end, beautiful music throughout. It's a good story. Now, I really love the movie. We have Fez Parker, who plays the Pa. He also played Davy Crockett in the King of the Wild Frontier, and he played Daniel Boone in the Daniel Boone series. He does a very good job in this movie of portraying a very caring but stoic father who understands life on the frontier. The ma does a very good job of showing the caring mother, but also being a tough frontierswoman. Arliss is supposed to be the annoying younger brother child who can't sit still, who's always getting into trouble, but is still loved by everybody. And Travis is the young adult at this point who is trying to prove himself and then encounters this dog that at first causes him nothing but trouble, but eventually comes to love and rely on. And it's sad how it has to end. It's a bittersweet ending, but it makes sense for the frontier life in this book and this movie. So I'm going to say this. The book, the main story, the main features of it almost all follow. It's almost completely the same. I am going to say that there are three major differences. I think the movie is better in terms of the ending. I think that the book is better in terms of the story. The book, one of the differences is that we get a backstory to Travis having a dog beforehand when he was younger named Blue. That was his best friend, kept him safe, was always around, but made a mistake of getting bit by a rattlesnake and died. And he didn't want another dog after that. So we have that backstory for Travis. The next major difference is that in the book, it wasn't Jumper in the cornfield that broke down the rail fence. It was actually two wild bulls that were fighting each other and broke down the fence and tore it to pieces during their fight. And that's why Travis has to rebuild it. The third difference is how Old Yeller dies. So, in the movie, I said they waited a little while to see if he had rabies or not. And when it was figured out that there's no chance that he doesn't, he definitely has it, they put him down. In the book, it's as soon as the fight with the wolf is over. The Ma says there's no chance this wolf didn't have rabies. Definitely Yeller has it now because he's been bit all over. We can't risk the family by letting him stay alive. It's too risky. So that night, Travis has to take Yeller around the house, put the muzzle to his head, and pull the trigger. So it's the most climactic scene in the movie becomes fairly anticlimactic in the book, which I understand. It's a frontier's life. You're just doing what has to be done. There's no climax to it. It just has to be done. But in the movie, you really feel the emotion drag. You can see it in the actor's face. Travis is played by Tommy DeKirk, and he does amazing in that role. Absolutely amazing. So, those were the three main differences with the book and the movie. I highly recommend everybody go and watch the movie and go and read the book. Both are equally good, and I love them. I thank you guys for listening to this movie review. I hope you do go and watch Old Yeller. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. And take care, my wolf pack.